I thought, since we're going to add a new chanting text to our cycle, that I would just explain it and give some teachings on it. So I haven't had the oral transmission of this that I remember, but I think I can kind of figure out what it's saying. So it's by the first Dalai Lama, Gendon Drop, and it's called Essential Spiritual Advice. So the first verse says, "O friends with intelligence and with interest in the teachings, listen well to some advice that I offer from the depths of my heart." So, O friends with intelligence. Who's he talking to? I don't know if that includes me or not. So he could be talking to, sometimes when they say intelligence, it refers to the bodhisattvas, who have high faculties, sharp faculties, and can learn and practice the Dharma very well. But I have a feeling here, it may also apply to some of the qualities that we need to cultivate as disciples. Okay? Because they say there's many qualities to cultivate, but there's three principal ones if we want to be qualified disciples. So the first one is to be intelligent. Okay? So, and the second is to be open-minded, and the third to be earnest or sincere. Okay? So intelligent, willing to think about the teachings, interested in the teachings, wanting to learn, willing to do the work of thinking about them, not just kind of, well, Buddha said that, yeah, I accept it, but, really thinking about what does this mean and applying it to our lives. And then the second one is open-minded. And we all like to think we're open-minded, don't we? Yeah? But there's a lot of wrong views hanging out in our mind. And there's a lot of doubts, and there's a lot of resistance. Let's face it, we talk about that a lot. We keep bumping up against our resistance. And especially when there's a teaching that, sometimes it's a philosophical teaching that we don't quite understand or we don't like, and our mind is resistant to it. And that is plain old closed-mindedness. Although we don't identify it as such, we think we're being very intelligent, when in fact we're being quite closed-minded. Okay? Other times there are teachings that it's not intellectually we resist, but emotionally. There's the Buddha encourages us to practice something or abstain from something else. And, he wants me to abstain from what I'm attached to? I don't think so. Except we don't say it's what I'm attached to. It's like, this isn't reasonable. Why is the Buddha asking me to give this up? This particular thing can actually benefit my spiritual practice. I've experienced the benefit. This was like all of us who came up to Kopan in the 70s, Lama, can we get high and meditate at the same time? You have an expanded mind. Yeah, I don't know how many times Lama got asked that question. Okay. And some people accepted the answer, and some people said, well, Lama just needs to get stoned and then he'll understand how good it is. And how you can really meditate when you're stoned. It's great. So, our resistance comes up because something that we're attached to is, there's a button getting pushed there. But again, we don't always see it as resistance. We see it as, I'm right. Or we don't see it as attachment, whatever it is. Okay? So to be open-minded, to really question things, okay? So when there's a teaching that either intellectually or emotionally we don't quite grok, instead of putting on the brakes and saying, to really think about it, And, why would the Buddha say that? Or sometimes we get, instructions from our spiritual mentors that completely counter to what we want to do. And, well, why would my teacher tell me to do that? Yeah? Like when Lama asked me to lead a meditation course, it was like, I can't do that. Why is he asking me to do that? Yeah. So, but to be open-minded, willing to consider ideas and think about them. Yeah, instead of just, I don't like. Yeah? And then the third quality of a good disciple is somebody who is sincere and earnest. Yeah? So somebody who really is interested in the path, who wants to learn, who wants to get out of samsara, who's tired of going around and around in samsara. So we're kind of sincere, but are we really tired of samsara? We kind of want to have a half-half deal with the Buddha, We want our samsaric pleasure, and we want nirvana also. Yeah? And once in a while we get some feeling, real feeling for renunciation of samsara. And that's really sobering. When you have it, you just go, whoa. There's quite a distinct experience. Yeah? But for most of us, it's like, yeah, samsara is, kind of dicey, meaning I suffer this life. And I don't like my suffering of this life. But we haven't really thought about what it means to be born in samsara again and again and again, and seen that as something that we need to give up and relinquish. Yeah. Sometimes our renunciation goes as far as, I don't like physical pain and mental pain. Yeah. Which nobody likes, whether you're a Buddhist or not. Yeah? So when Buddha talks about renunciation, he's not talking about just renouncing physical and mental pain. He's talking about the whole kit and caboodle that involves being under the influence of ignorance and karma. He's talking about the whole thing. Yeah, and so we may have some work to do to become earnest in that way, or even if we downgrade a little bit, to become earnest in wanting a good future rebirth. Some of us aren't quite sure if there are rebirths. Maybe there's only this life. Yeah? So there's degrees, of cultivating these three qualities of intelligence and open-mindedness and earnestness or sincerity. So it's not an on and off switch. Either you have those or you don't. But it's a process of slowly and gradually developing them. And so as we listen to teachings, as we try and put them into practice, as we think about them more deeply, then, that rotating light switch starts to move a little bit. Okay? And so you can see, from the time you've met the Dharma until now, in many ways you've become a more qualified disciple, because these three qualities are stronger. And we still have some way to go. So, but we can start going that way. Why not? Okay, so we did the first line. I think that's pretty good for me. I spent less than an hour on it, so we can continue on tomorrow.